Hello and welcome to the Victoria Penfold podcast. It's nice to have you here again. So today we are going to talk about the second element of the Wholeyfit, the Soul's Compass method. So last week we spoke about the therapy element, and today it's going to be more based around the body. So today is two parts to what the body compromises, and then that's going to be nutrition and exercise. So, but before we get going, if I can just ask you to subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube, and I'd really appreciate that. Okay, so let's begin. So the second element, which is around the body, the first part that we're going to talk about is the nutrition. So I've created a system called ABC 123, which is the abundance, balance, control, and discipline of food. And it's been designed quite carefully, and obviously it's still very trauma focused, and just helping people base themselves back in their body. So it's a little bit different to a lot of nutrition and therapy out there. So the focus is on having whole foods. And the way I like to describe it, if you can think of like the analogy of like a house. So if you're ever going to attempt to build your body in any way, whether it's exercise or you want to be a bodybuilder or an athlete or just aim for longevity. So whenever you build a house, the first thing that has to happen is you have to lay the foundations. And food is the foundations of that house. So if you think of it in terms of the body, the nutrition, which is the gut, is going to form the basis of how you build your body. And the other thing is because everything that this plan is built around, which is whole foods, that it's just simple. And simultaneously, by consuming the majority of a whole foods diet, you just naturally become very grounded, and it helps keep the body connected to the earth and to yourself. And then what happens is when you eat all whole foods consistently, then the body and the gut will start to heal itself, and you will literally start to heal yourself from the inside out. And it's been said on lots of occasions that the gut is the second brain, and I quite often think it might be the first. And when you heal your gut and your gut microbiome, it creates like a feedback loop. So whatever kind of goes on here will then be circulated into here, and then vice versa. So it just kind of creates a nice circular motion. And then when you eat in this way, then you become very clear, you're very grounded, and you become a little bit more resourceful. And then what it also simultaneously does is it regulates the nervous systems, and creates a real good sense of calm and stability. And this healing of the gut, it's probably one of the most important things I think any human being can do. And I know it's cliche when they say you are what you eat, but it really is true. And I once read this thing that they said, junk in, junk out. And I couldn't agree more. And I've even conducted little experiments on myself where I've eaten whole foods and just noticed how I am, and then eaten some junk food and just notice what is coming out of my mouth and what is going through my thoughts, like just like the difference. And for me, nutrition's quite close to my heart, really. So when I grew up, as you kind of know so far in my story, that we were very poor after my father left when we were young. So food wasn't greatly available to us. But what was available, because we grew up on farmland, was the regular meat and two veg. And I believe strongly that that in itself had and has a lot to do with my own ability to be so resilient. And when now even I eat my dinner, that, or my meals, that's still my blueprint. And it's probably a part of my blueprint that I don't want to remove. So I do quite enjoy like the whole foods, and even though that may have had a difficult upbringing, I'm aware that that is one of the things I think that helped stabilize me within my body. One of the other things the plan does is it helps you then identify your blueprint of food. And we actually use it alongside, and can be used alongside, the therapy aspect. So it's like the food therapy. And the food therapy part is we start to look at the source and the root causes of the patterns and the way that you eat. And what I try to do is, the first thing, it's about just expanding your field of awareness. So there's a part within the plan that you will do your journaling, and you will log and write down what you have, and to start to identify patterns, but then also looking at, where did that come from? Where did I learn to do that? And then what happens is when you create awareness, it provides you the opportunity to make a choice. And then with that opportunity of choice, you can choose the things that you want to keep and the things that you would like to change. And quite often change is obviously difficult, but then what you do is, we have a plan for you to follow, in a structure and a routine, so that as you're making those changes, you feel stronger within yourself. And the plan's quite unique because, although a structure is provided for you, within that structure and that routine, there is flexibility for you to be creative and autonomous, and be able to create a meal plan that's designed for you and your life. And it's about really acknowledging who you are, and then identifying and looking at your childhood as well, working out what whether you were, well, what nervous system within you is dominant. And then what we can do is we can adjust the meal plans in line with your natural energy system dominance. So also, the other thing we look at is the attachments. So like when we go through therapy, we look at our attachment to things and people and our behaviors. And I use all of those disciplines and tools within the nutrition as well. So we look at your attachment to food. We look at how your relationship is with food, what the relationship is that you noticed when you were children around food. And then the other thing is that the food is divided into what I call baskets, and which is where the ABCD comes in. So it's the abundance, balance, and control. So the abundance is always, it's around your vitamins and minerals. And this also, this system, this basket of the abundance of the vitamins and minerals, this actually helps your energy systems within the body. And I always think of abundance as your micronutrients, and your macronutrients cannot work without your micronutrients. They're probably the most important thing. It's a little bit like money. You can't really do the things you love and want to do without money. And you can think of the vitamins and minerals as that. Then your balance will be your proteins. Then your control is your carbohydrates, and then your discipline is your fats. And then the whole plan is all color coded. So the baskets are color coded, then your menus are color coded. So it looks quite fun as well. And I've made it very, very simple. So it's even my 6-year-old nephew was able to understand how it was designed. And then the final thing I will say about the nutrition, which is the thing that I love the most, is when you eat food from the land, it's the easiest way to connect yourself to God or the greater source or the universe, or just however you understand what God is, if you do believe in God. And it seems natural that if you eat what the land gave you, then your body will operate the way it's supposed to, because we are a part of the land. We are the micro of the macro. So that is the one thing that actually I quite really like about that. And I often think to myself, and I say out loud also, is that life isn't difficult. We make it difficult. So everything that I've done in these plans, I've just made it very simple and just stripping everything back to basics. And that is where you will find that all the ease and the peace of mind will come from. So that being said, the next part is what I call therapeutic personal training. Now, this part is the element that's around exercise and movement of a person's body. So it's known and well known that the body holds the trauma, and that when trauma's been experienced, that your body will store it somewhere. So I always have like this image that it's held in the brain somewhere. So for example, it could be in the Amy ganglia, so a little bit stressed out, but then it's also then located somewhere within the body. But what's interesting as well, that also the wisdom of what we are and what we are looking for is held within the body, and only we have the answers. And I even say to my clients, I don't have the answers for you. I only have space and some guidance to help you get there and help you be able to stay with your body and assist you in navigating the trauma so that you can access the wisdom. And when you do the nutrition and exercise together, they then support the body in healing, like real true healing from the inside out. And it's based on the science that when muscle tissue is torn, there's like micro tears within the muscle fibers, whether you're weight training or you're doing yoga, or you're doing some kind of aerobic exercise. But then what happens is that memory surfaces to the surface of our bodies, and it gets released. And if it doesn't have somewhere to go, or there's nowhere to process it, there's only one place that it can go, and it will go back inside. So it might sort of go out there, and it could potentially cause some damage. It might not, to other people or around like your life. But then if it's not processed or talked about, then what happens is it just goes back inside. So then that trauma still lives within you. So I have been a therapist for more than 10 years and also a personal trainer. And I actually discovered what I'm doing a little bit by accident. I was just like, oh, this is happening. And I started to notice that within myself. So then what happens is when that memory surfaces, I then, alongside the clients, I use body maps to track the story that is within that particular part of the body, whether it's weight training and we locate that there's a particular memory, for example, in your upper legs or your lower legs, or within your back or within your abdomen or your chest. Or if somebody's a runner, and I've got clients that are more aerobic based, we often find out what organ is the trauma's being held within the body. So one of the energy systems, or even one of the systems within the body. So I'll give you a little example. So one of my clients, she was really struggling with money. And it doesn't matter what she did, she was doing everything on paper, seemingly and outwardly, all the right things, but money just wasn't flowing to her. There just seemed to be like a blockage. And then as we went through the therapeutic personal training, we actually found that, and I guided her into the possibility that the lymphatic system was blocked somewhere. So then we did some massage therapy, and we actually found that there was blockages, and she had a low her lymphatic system was damaged and it wasn't flowing correctly. And then there was some noticing there were some varicose veins that hadn't been noticed. So she started having lymphatic drainage massage, and within 2 months, everything that she had worked for had started to flow to her, and it was quite incredible, really. And then I've had another client that they hold a particular memory in the quads. This is someone I do weight training with, in the quads of the muscle. And every time we work the quads, this particular memory comes up. And then what I then do as the therapist within that process is that we process what comes up. We talk about it between sets. We talk about it, we process it. And I've become quite skilled as being a dual practitioner. So I can help them process what's going on, talk them through it. And then they're able to then really fully process the trauma and release it. And then what happens is when it's released, it then creates space within their body. And then what happens is the true self can then emerge. And then when that true self emerges, it's suddenly like they've got space to talk about who they really are. And then also what I always take into consideration is a person's body type. So there's 3 different body types. So you've got your endomorph, mesomorph, and ectomorph. And each body type requires to be trained in a very different way. And then also I take into consideration the person's trauma. So somebody who's suffered trauma will react and respond very differently to somebody that hasn't when it comes to any form of exercise. So I always say to clients that what you think you want may not necessarily be the thing that's beneficial and the best for your body because you have suffered trauma. And especially when there's been cases, for example, of physical and sexual violence. So then what happens is simultaneously with this process is as obviously the muscle's torn, the memory surfaces and gets released, we process that information and the story and we release it. But then simultaneously what is happening, we are building stronger muscle so that the person's body has a stronger physical boundary, and they start to get a better sense of themselves and being able to set boundaries. And what the beautiful thing about the gym is, and I love it, is that I've just lost my train of thought, so bear with me for a moment. Yes, that's it. So the beauty of the gym, which is amazing, is that when these memories surface, they have like ripple effects. So all these disciplines that you have within the gym and all this new information that you get, it then ripples out into other areas of your life very naturally. So that's one of the things, well, one of the things that I like about training people in this way. So I think that is the end of this podcast. So nutrition, ABC 123, and therapeutic personal training. So then next week, we're then going to talk about the life coaching with soul. And then this very much is a continuation from then what happens when we're doing the mind and body together. And then what happens when the soul is accessed. So I will look forward to seeing you in the next podcast. And thank you again for taking the time to be here. I really appreciate it. and I'm looking forward to continuing this journey. And anyone that is watching this and wants to watch it or ever joins at any part, you're very welcome here. And if you have any feedback, comments, suggestions, please do leave any notes or comments in the comments below, and I will really do my best to read them and implement anything that I think would be of a real help. So thank you again, and have a lovely day wherever you are.